And we continue now with Susan Medak, who is the managing director of the Berkeley Repertory Theater, which has been a leading theater in San Francisco Bay Area, winning the Tony Award in 1990. This year, the Berkeley Rep is enjoying its 40th birthday with a season of many new plays. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you.
I have come over to Berkeley. I don't leave the city very often. I look at it as a foreign tour when I leave the city.
Do they give you a passport?
Yeah. I do. I get inoculation.
You know,
although I shouldn't have inoculation to come back in this city. But go ahead.
But I was going to say, 43% of our audience comes either from San Francisco, Marin, or the Peninsula.
You know, I was going to ask you about
brave
that.
souls.
Yeah.
Brave souls.
But I want to tell you that something happens, and I can't explain it. When I go to some of the other theaters in San Francisco, and I always know I'm in a theater. But the 2 or 3 times I've come there, I lose any contact with where I am. I mean, I'm engrossed, and yet they're great actors everywhere.
I love hearing you say that.
Stage construction is pretty basic.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't get why that happens. Why does that happen?
I think that there's something. First of all, there's something about the architecture of our 2 theaters. The thrust stage, which we built in 1980. Was all about, it was actually sort of revolutionary when it was built, and it was all about putting the actors right in the audience's laps. And I think that there's something about the experience of almost being on the stage and breathing with the actors that really does keep you as an audience member from being able to separate from the experience on stage.
But I'm going back into my mind, and both of them, and I can't remember the other one.
The Rhoda Theater is.
The one I think was Hedda.
Uh-huh.
And I was sitting way over on the left.
Uh-huh.
And I was very close. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying that I had that same experience of not, I didn't feel like I was part of it. I just was lost. I was into what was going on there. And so I've always I remembered that about your group. It's just an amazing story.
I would like to say it's just because it was really good theater.
What does that mean?
What's really good theater? Well, first of all, it's a totally objective experience. We find every single night there's somebody who has a thrilling experience, and there's the person sitting next to them may have been completely unmoved. But I do think when people talk about Berkeley Rep, what they often talk about is not just a visceral experience, but a really intense experience. And I think it has to do in part with the kind of plays that we pick. Mm-hmm. We very consciously pick plays that we think will be impactful. We always ask ourselves, is there a good reason to do this play? And just because it's nice or it's funny or it's moving or whatever, that's not necessarily in and of itself a reason enough to produce it. So I think part of it is that the work that we choose to produce is work that has something to say, that is intended to impact both your heart and your mind. We really are interested in your mind. And then I also think that we strive to achieve with every production a standard of production that is very high. I've worked in theater for over 30 years, and I have to say what I've always loved about working at Berkeley Rep and running Berkeley Repertory Theater is that I feel that and I say this with some modesty, false modesty, but I feel that our worst work, when we are at our worst, it is what other companies consider good work.
You've created an environment of perfection from everyone. Everyone puts out, and there's sort of a respect for the theater too. I mean, there's respect for the tradition.
Yes, yes.
Not the tradition just of the Berkeley Rep, but of theater in general.
Of the theater. People consider themselves part of a long line.
What is the challenge now with so much entertainment in the Bay Area and so many theaters in the Bay Area? Hundreds.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
That's fantastic in one way. How do you take this form, this art form, and breathe life into it so that it is meaningful in this era of multiplicity of media?
Yeah. And that is a challenge. It is a real challenge. I find that in the conversations we've been having with people of different generations, from different regions, we talk to people a lot. And one of the things that...
Good idea.
You can't not, can you?
Well, a lot of professionals, whether it's the ballet or some of the established theaters, don't do that. I mean, they think what's best. They know what's best for the audience, don't they? They don't go out and ask which about. I think they'd be insulted to ask the audience what they think they should be producing.
And I would say we don't say to the audience, what play would you like to see?
Well,
and I'll tell you what.
Okay.
And we don't do that
Not
because
necessarily play, but you must ask something.
we want to know, is it working? We want to know, are we explore with people, what is your experience? What is the experience that you've had? Or how can we make this experience better? Or how would we communicate with you in a way that would help you have a deeper experience? And we survey people constantly, but we also just literally talk to them. We're in the theater. Theater is about words. It's about communication. And one of the things that actually makes me feel very heartened about at least this art form, I think most live art forms, is that you hear the word authenticity a lot. And I think that with the growth of technology and the ability to manipulate reality through technology, there is actually a growing sense that those experiences that are unequivocally authentic and that in a sense are unmediated, what you are seeing there is it is only interpreted by you as the audience member, are actually, we think that there is a growing sense of interest in that from a generation that for a number of years, and for most of their growing up, thought that technology was the end all and the be all.
The technology pounds people over the head.
Yeah.
The technology does not have a conversation with people. It's there to really blast.
And it's also there, it plays with their reality.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So now, and again, that is the very characteristic I brought up at the beginning, is that I didn't feel like I was in theater, but I felt, and I did not feel I was there anymore, and that something was going on there that engrossed me. Now, that's what the Generation Y would get out of a blast of images from whatever source, or a blog blasting away, and you don't engage it.
Right.
Now, are you appealing to this next generation that is not interested in thinking, and rightly so? They're interested in visual images.
Couple of things. Yes, we are. Yes, we are appealing. Yes, that audience is growing. The size of that audience has grown ever since we moved into in 2001 we moved into the Rhoda Theater, and at that time we realized one of the things we needed to do, our ticket prices had grown every year. When we looked around the table and thought all of us who work in this theater couldn't afford to attend this theater any longer, we started dropping our lowest ticket prices. We offered an under 30 discount.
Terrific.
So and at that point, our younger audience began to return, and now we've done that again for a different reason, but an equally, I think, compelling reason, so that we've got mechanisms now for bringing young people back. But the other thing is that we're also encouraging younger writers.
Yeah, you
younger
have
writers
one writer,
write in a different way.
one new play about someone in Brooklyn that he's doing. It's a solo piece.
Yes,
and he does several characters from the neighborhood. I do understand, but I want to go back there because I want to talk about the season in general. It's just an exciting series of new plays. I mean, we rarely see new plays, and now you have 7 or 8 of them. Is it your intention with this younger crowd to bring them back to a tradition that they're missing, or to take the theater and make it relevant to them?
See, we think that the theater is relevant to anybody. So it's bringing it back to or taking it from. I think that this is an entertainment option that many young people were not exposed to.
Correct.
The way many of us were when we started, we were taught, we had arts and education. 30 years since we've had arts and education in this community. So there's kids who haven't necessarily been exposed to it in the first place and don't know how to use it. And don't think of entertainment as being something that's also thought-provoking.
True.
So.
Correct.
So yes, we want to bring people to it. Yes, we want to give them the tools to be able to enjoy it fully. And we think that once they walk in those doors, they will fall in love with it the same way that most other people do once they walk through the doors. So we don't think it's a hard. We don't think it's a hard sell.
What do you make of the? Well, one of the.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, we're getting close to it. One of the sentences that Terrence, your press person, put in his press release, a beautiful press release, was that you aim to transform. You're not happy to have an exciting evening or thought-provoking, but the idea is transformation is a pretty major goal.
Yeah, well, we don't think small. What's the point?
Is that truly something that operates within the decisions you make?
Absolutely.
To transform? Like Al Gore tried to transform with his film?
I think that most people, and I say this not just about Berkeley Rep, I would say most people who are in the theater have an intense need to communicate and an intense desire to contribute to a societal dialogue, with the goal being that we become more civilized, that we become better citizens, that we become more empathetic human beings. And so, you know, in that broad sense,
you do. It entered when you chose these 7 or 8 plays that are now in progress. First one's in progress.
every one of them has an intentionality.
The
to
collaboration effort, because I talked with this the group at ACT, and they have a great collaboration system. They all get involved. How did you? We only have a few minutes left. How did you select these incredible plays? What was the mechanism?
Well, first of all, we commission a lot of new work. And so we go to writers, or writers come to us and we say, we'd like you to write a play for us. And what happened is this year, some of those projects are coming to fruition. We develop long-term relationships with artists, somebody like Mary Zimmerman, who first came to us in the 1990s when we produced her production of Journey to the West. And since that time, Metamorphosis, and then you know, we've done 4 other, I think, of her pieces. Mary has a new piece that's ripe, that's ready. Of course we're going to do that piece. So the challenge for us is figuring out how to build a season that accommodates Mary Zimmerman and a work that we want to do, that accommodates Frank Galati, a writer and a director of international fame who we've been wanting to work with for years. We've got 1 slot. This is the piece that he's interested in working on. Of course we're going to grab it. We want to make sure that Tony Taccone and Les Waters, who are our distinguished directors, Tony being our artistic director and Les being our associate, both of whose work is now being seen all over the country. We've got 2 shows opening in LA. We've just had 2 shows close in New York. You know, they're nationally recognized directors. We want to make sure that they can be seen on our stage. And so we start with the artists. And then we follow with the ideas.
So you help generate these artists themselves. You help in their career.
We have over 10 new plays under commission right now. They'll be showing up on our stages over each of the next few years.
But never, I don't think there's ever been a season with this many premieres going on, right?
It's a good year for new work, and for work that people aren't familiar with. That's the other side.
And so when you go and sit down the first time where there's an audience, do you also have a thrill like the audience, or are you looking at it as the managing director of the Berkeley Rep?
Oh man,
do you get excited? Do you lose yourself there?
That's why I do this.
Do they cause you to lose yourself and to see the play as just a play? You're no longer a director.
I sit there on opening night and I'm riveted. I'm riveted.
Well, I'll tell you, as I said, I don't often head out to the East Bay, but I will be catching some of your plays.
Come to see Heartbreak.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. And I appreciate you taking time out. It was very difficult to get this time from you because I know it's a busy time. So Susan Medak, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. For program schedules, post-production notes, and free streaming video of select interviews, visit our website at www.sfunscripted.com.